Hello. I want to make a clarification from yesterday's highlight on African American female liberators. In discussing Stacey Abrams, initially I did state her name correctly as Stacey Abrams, and later I said Stacey Adams, but her name is Stacey Abrams. Today is day eight of the 20-day countdown to Juneteenth 2020. Today, I will be providing a brief highlight on 5 of the many thousands of Black African American liberators who made or are making giant footprints in our African American legacy. If you don't know or are slightly familiar with these great African American men, please take the time to research and read their history. Search their profiles and their contributions to know the essence of who they are and what they did. Knowledge is power. The depth and the breadth of our history is worthy of knowing, celebrating, and taking individual responsibility with the gifts we have to make a difference. It's more important now than ever. James Baldwin, 1927. He was born and he died 1987. He was a novelist, essayist, and playwright whose influence went far beyond his printed words. He was born in Harlem. His father was a preacher, and James Baldwin, during his early high school years, preached in a Harlem Pentecostal church. He once noted that the church was his refuge from a negative life he could have taken part in. He wrote and strongly did a lot of advocacy related to racism. I strongly recommend you read some or at least one of his writings. Some are The Fire Next Time, Another Country, Tell Me How Long the Train's Been Gone. Romare Bearden. He was born 1912 and he died 1988. Bearden was born in Charlotte, North Carolina. He studied art at the Sorbonne in Paris. His art was influenced by Joan Miro and Henri Matisse. Once, when asked what he hoped to do with his work, he stated, "I want to redefine the image of man in terms of the Black experience." His early work focused on unity and cooperation within the African American community. His best-known works are Street Corner and He Has Risen. Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey was born in 1887 and he died in 1940. He was a fiercely driven visionary. He was born in St. Anne Bay, Jamaica, where he worked as a printer. He traveled to many countries and returned to Jamaica to establish the Universal Negro Improvement Association. He moved to New York in 1916. He started a Back to Africa movement to resettle African Americans to Africa, as well as an economic program for people of African descent to take control of their destiny. Vernon Jordan. He was born in 1935. Vernon Jordan was born in Atlanta, Georgia. He was one of the most influential figures in the civil rights movement during the 1960s as well as the 1970s. He's a graduate of Howard University's Law School. In 1962, he became field secretary for the Georgia branch of the NAACP. His most important work in the 1960s was as a director of the Voter Education Project of the Southern Regional Council. More than 2 million African Americans were registered to vote between 1964 and 1968. Irvin Magic Johnson was born in 1959. Irvin Magic Johnson was 3 times the National Basketball Association's most valuable player and 3 times the postseason's most valuable player. He started his Magic Johnson Foundation in 1991 as a single disease organization that worked to raise funds for community-based organizations dealing with HIV/AIDS education and prevention programs. Over the years, Magic Johnson's Enterprises has continually invested ownership in many lucrative businesses such as the LA Lakers, movie theaters, and restaurants in the United States, to include TG Fridays, Sodexo, and Burger King locations. Please join us tomorrow for day 9, and we will be discussing the importance of voting in the midst of injustice. I will provide excerpts from the June 4, 2020 op-ed of Stacey Abrams that was in the New York Times.